Hi there, everybody. Welcome to Transformation Tuesday. This is Cecile Ahrens with Get Mental Podcast. So today, if you guys notice, I went and got my hair did. Because finally things are opening up. So hopefully you guys are taking advantage of the increased socialization that we're permitted to do in the flesh, because it's really important for our mental health. And please just be careful as well, because, the virus has not gone away. So that's that. So today marks the last week of our Mirror, Mirror on the Wall, Who is the Greatest of Us All campaign. And really the whole topic for the month has been self-confidence, examining what social approval means and what it does to our brain, talking about, the selfie effect and how social media has normalized narcissism and vanity and self-absorption. So T and I gave our different perspectives, different but really juicy and informative perspectives on kind of this whole phenomenon. And really the goal is to help you guys have a better relationship with yourself and really raise your vibration, raise your self-esteem, raise your self-love. So this week, T and I are going to bring it all home, and really all roads lead to self-love and love for others. Okay? Sounds cheesy, but really all roads lead to love. Think about it when we don't have love. Think about what happens to our life, to our bodies, to our spirit. It is like oxygen, literally, to our soul. And on a cellular level, the absence of love, acceptance, and belonging has long-lasting mental health effects, and then it goes into, that in turn turns into physical disease. So we're not going to get into the science of it all because we don't have the time, but just trust me when I say that. And if you want to research it, go ahead. Look also on the concept of failure to thrive if you're really curious, and learn about what failure to thrive is. And I think you guys will be blown away. So, what is self-love? Okay, self-love, we throw that term around. It's kind of become trendy, and it's as if we really all know what we're talking about. So I just want to demystify it, okay, so that you can have kind of a better working definition of it. So self-love in mental health doesn't mean, perfection. It doesn't mean not having flaws. It doesn't mean not having bad days. It doesn't mean liking and loving every single aspect of yourself. That's not what it is. So a good guide in this journey to self-love, which I believe ultimately is what we're all on, is think about the characteristics of love, okay? So when I think of love, I think of kindness, acceptance, forgiveness, empathy, patience, grace, generosity, okay? So that guide can help you learn to have a more loving relationship with yourself. So in other words, you want to start reflecting on what kind of a relationship am I having with myself on the daily, okay? Because like we always say at Get Mental, the most important and longest relationship we're ever going to have is with ourselves. And everything we do emanates out of the nature and quality of the relationship we have with ourselves. Okay? How we treat others is largely a reflection of how we see ourselves and how we treat ourselves. Hi, Carrie. Thanks for watching. Let me know if you have any questions. So self-love has to start with you starting to work on and setting an intention to be kinder to yourself, to have more empathy, to have more patience, grace, compassion, forgiveness. I know it's easier said than done. okay? But we don't come out of the womb not liking ourselves. We are not born with these self-loathing and negative core beliefs. These things are learned. They are a product of our upbringing, of our conditioning, of our environment, of the messages we've received throughout our lifetime. So just like they can be learned, they can be unlearned, okay? And we can redefine that relationship. It's never too late. It's never too late. And, you know, being a therapist, of course, I'm always, you know, such a big advocate for therapy, not because it's a self-serving thing. It's because a lot of the times these things need specialized attention. And, you know, trauma especially, and all forms of, you know, unmet needs in childhood, which usually result from neglect, anywhere from emotional neglect to some form of child abuse, or just, you know, unstable environments, that will impact our sense of self and our sense of identity and our sense of esteem about ourselves. So, you know, again, I'm going to repeat the guide. Self-love, if you want to start reflecting on this, you want to start looking at, are you being kind to yourself? How often are you giving yourself empathy and grace? How often are you being patient with yourself? How often are you giving yourself, you know, loving attention? Okay? From diet, food, exercise. So that's the physical aspect. Then there's the mental health aspect. Like, what are you feeding your mind? You know, and therapy is part of self-care and creating a healthier mental health and emotional health, which all that piece, I believe, is really a big component towards healing, which then is really what can lead to self-love. You know, it's hard to practice all of these things I'm talking about if you have all of these unresolved wounds and pain points, emotional pain points that are still, you know, hurting and tender. So that's where therapy can come in. And coaches like T. Smith can also help. You know, they have a different kind of approach and training, but they can also help kind of lead you on the path of self-healing. And there are also other resources that you can utilize, but do not underestimate the power of a great therapeutic relationship, a mindfulness practice, and, you know, the power of social support. Because without that, you could have the best therapist in the world, and, you know, once you leave the room, you're gonna feel, it's inevitable for you to feel alone and depressed and anxious if you don't have real supports in your life. So that leads me to the next point I want to make, which is, it is not the number of likes we get, okay, on social media, and this is probably more for, you know, my younger clients and younger people who are listening, who may be more kind of vulnerable to get caught up in all of this kind of ego boosting effects that social media can tend to have. It's not the number of likes that you get, guys, okay? It's the number of true friends that you really have. And that could be one, that could be two real good friends. It's not quantity, it's quality, you know? And really, our single best predictor for happiness, okay, check this out. Our single best predictor for happiness is the quality of our relationships. Not money, not anything else, but the quality of our relationships, okay? So it's easy to get caught up, it's easy to get distracted by all these things, but, you know, Get Mental is here to bring it back home and to always ground you guys in wisdom and in truth. And it's a practice. Self-love is a practice. Self-love is a process, okay? It's a journey. It's not going to be like this. It's like this, you know? But over time, as you get more anchored and more healing behind you, the road to that doesn't have to be so bumpy. And you kind of like get to a point where you recognize, you know, your own negative limiting core beliefs or self-talk, and you're able to unblend or undo that pattern a lot quicker. So it's not about not having those bad days, like I said. It's not about not having cognitive, what we call cognitive distortions. Hi, you guys. And it's not about, hi, Andrea and Nancy. Thank you for watching. I really appreciate it. Feel free to contribute. You know, so it's not about not having those moments of insecurity and negative self-talk. It's about how long you stay there and what you do with it. And the more healing you have behind you and the more tools you have in your toolbox, the easier it will be for you to bounce back from that and to replace it with something, you know, a more loving belief, which is what self-love is ultimately about. It's loving ourselves, liking ourselves, or loving ourselves even though we may not like ourselves, right? Hi there, Forrest. Thank you for listening, GI. So one of the things I want to focus on is, you know, in the spirit of talking about self-love, is the wise self versus the egoic self, okay? Self-compassion, thank you. Actually, yeah, I wrote that down. Self-compassion, thank you, Nancy. You know, that's a big component of self-love. So let's just talk about that for a second. What does that mean? So to be self-compassionate means, okay, so for example, you know, you may have like had an experience where, you know, you were pretty rude and maybe disrespectful to someone you know. And then upon reflection, you go, you know what? I think I could have done a better job. I wish I didn't show up in that way, right? So self-compassion is to be able to hold the space for yourself and to be able to say, you know what? Yeah, I could take personal responsibility for that. And I can see why I reacted in that way, right? I was really stressed. I was really angry. I couldn't access my tools. I couldn't, you know, I didn't have it in me in the moment. It doesn't excuse my behavior, but I was really struggling in the moment. So that's a self-compassionate stance, right? Like you're giving yourself empathy and you're being personally accountable for your choices. The difference between self-compassion and blame, here's what blame will sound like, okay? It'll be more like a lot of condescending, you know, self-talk of like, oh my God, I'm such a loser. Oh my God, I did it again. I always, you know, screw up relationships. Oh my God, like I am just so bad at this. So do you see the quality? It's very different. There's a lot of what we call distortions when you're blaming yourself, a lot of shame, a lot of kind of a negative, you know, fatalistic spin on it, versus compassion, which is what gives us more freedom to heal and to move differently next time, right? So shaming and blaming actually just keeps the cycle of shame and blame. It doesn't actually help anything. You know, when my clients say that, I say, I'm wondering, you know, how does that help you? And a lot of times they'll say, well, it keeps me kind of like, it keeps me focused, you know, to not do that again. But what does that do to your self-esteem? Does it make you feel good about yourself? Like it might help you in the short term not make the same choices, but what is it doing to your spirit, right? So there's a better way, and that's the way towards self-love. Again, self-love is a process, it's a practice, it's a journey, and the elements are empathy and self-compassion, like Nancy said. You know, choosing to be kinder to yourself. Again, not excusing bad behaviors, but giving yourself kind of the grace to understand why you acted the way you acted in that moment. And only then, you know, under true empathy and accountability, can you really embody true self-love. Okay, I'm going to repeat that. Only in the environment of true empathy and personal accountability, not blame and shame, that you can really start to embody true self-love. Okay, and we're all on this journey. No one's like an already finished product, by the way. No one's sitting there going, I'm done, I've done my work, I'm good. No, we're all in this journey together, you know? So the thing I want to talk about, going back to what I was saying, is the wise self versus the egoic self, okay? I'm just going to simplify this, again, because, you know, we're not in a therapy session. So the wise mind, you know, wise self, wise mind, sometimes those terms are interchangeable. That the quality of that is it's very loving, you know, it's compassionate, connected, calm, kind, empathic, you know, there's a courage to it, there's a clarity to it. So that is something that you can cultivate through a meditation practice, through, you know, kind of a range of different activities. But the top two things that I've seen over the years that kind of can help and expedite that process is meditation or mindfulness practice and or therapy. The egoic self, which is what we all can easily get caught up in, you know, is really concerned about external validation, performance, very goal-oriented. And again, it's not like it's bad, okay? We all need a little bit of that. But what we don't want, we all need a little bit of that. What I mean is for us to have a sense of accomplishment and achievement in the world, you know? It's all about balance. It's not about not wanting those things. It's about how you're pursuing those things and the intention behind the pursuit. So the egoic self, the problem is when that takes over, the danger is we start to organize our identity around the accomplishing, around the acquiring, around the possessing. And it can happen very insidiously, meaning in a slow process. And the next thing you know, oh, shoot, I'm caught up, right? And, you know, we're all could be vulnerable to that. And I have to practice that every day, especially when I'm trying to pursue goals, you know. So it's really important to realize that you are not your goals. Okay, here's another nugget towards self-love. You are not your goals. We are not our goals. We are our values. Okay, we are way more than our goals. Our goals represents our values and the things we want to experience, right? We're all looking for some kind of peak experience. As Tara Brach, one of my favorite humans, you know, say on her talks, we're all looking for some peak experience, right? To kind of feel more alive, you know? So we just don't want to get caught up in believing and organizing our identity around our goals, because we are not our goals. We are our values. And what happens when you anchor yourself on that alone is when it doesn't get manifested or achieved, then, you know, if that's the foundation, then yes, that's going to impact how you feel about yourself. So self-love, when we embody that, right? Yes, those things might be disappointing, but it's not going to rock your center, because you're going to start to understand that your value and your life and your worth has nothing to do with that. You're already worthy. You know, you're already worthy. You don't have to wait on some grand special moment. It already is. It always was, and it always is. It's just we got disconnected from our true nature, from our source, as I sometimes refer to it in my own life. So again, you guys, you're already worthy. You don't have to wait on some moment. It always was, and it always is. And to really feel the richness of that, you have to go in. You have to be still. You have to be quiet. We all do. We all do, you know? So hopefully this inspires you to cultivate or set an intention for some kind of going in practice, whatever you want to call it, you know? Start somewhere. Just start small. It doesn't have to be anything grand. You don't have to commit to a meditative practice. You don't have to commit to a retreat. just maybe, you know, listen to something, you know, keep at it, keep learning, keep working on it, stay on the path, you know, keep stepping out of the frame. And what I mean by that is when your mind starts to, you know, give you all this chatter, and you know the quality, if you know, if you're not really feeling good that day, you know, you may not have the words for it, but you know. And so when you're experiencing that, you can assume that, you know, if it's not obviously a biological or medical condition, you can assume that some part of you is needing some care and attention. And it's hard to attend to it if you don't have support, you know, and if you don't have some kind of practice around it. So just start somewhere. Just start somewhere, you guys, because I really believe trauma, you know, is the single biggest problem in our planet. You know, racism is traumatic, right? But there's so many different forms and layers. And without that healing piece, it's really going to be hard to get to that place of feeling okay enough, loving yourself, regardless of what is happening outside of yourself. So hopefully this inspires you guys. And again, if you're feeling like you're stuck in some patterns, there's a lot of, you know, traumatic stuff that's occurred, or you just kind of want a fresh perspective, please give us a call, transcendtherapyca.com. You can call us or email us, but just go to the website and you'll get a lot of information there about who we are, what we do. And also, if thank you guys so much for being here. I really appreciate it, and for listening. This service is really for you, for everybody, and for us, you know, to commune with each other, because we all have issues. That's our hashtag, and we all need support, and ultimately all roads lead to love. That's why we're talking about self-love. But ultimately what you're going to discover if you stay on this practice long enough is that self-love becomes more love for others. It doesn't just stay with you. That's the beauty of love. It doesn't just stay with you. You want to keep giving to other people and nature and the world, you know? So hopefully, again, that was helpful. That's pretty much it. Sorry, do no harm. If you don't know what else to do, then do no harm. Do no harm to yourself either, okay? Yeah, so thank you for being here. Be well. Get mental. Be gentle, because we all have issues. Bye for now.